Oh, it just told us it was happening
Oh,
again.
yeah. Let's boogie.
I like that sultry tone. Do you guys like that sultry tone?
No.
Welcome to the
Yes.
Shall We Football Podcast. This is season 2, episode 15. If my math is correct. Hello, good football to all on this podcast. We talk football and only football, so help us God. In this episode, it's way too early for this shit. It's our NFL Power Rankings, part 1 with Phil Mountstephens. We're going through teams 32 to 17, the bottom 15 teams by our estimations, really AJ's estimations, and we're all just going to follow along. It's going to be beautiful. In the NFL, you all do know Phil Mountstephens. He's rejoining us this time, the NFL Power Rankings. He loves the Philadelphia Eagles because he has no love for himself in his body. A self-hating Eagles fan. His podcast is the Next Man Up Eagles podcast at Next Man Up _. It's an underscore there, right? That's all major podcast platforms at Next Man Up _ on the twitter.com. He's also there with at Liam O'Neill _ KEIR Keir and at Mick McGive. You can get him at P Mountstephens on Twitter. Once again, we'll do the pronunciation game with Phil and see if he can stumble through the same names that he did last time. And we also will present the McCorkle Award for the episode MVP. Last week was Luke Sawhook. That was our guest last week. Here are the rules. We shall all be on our worst behavior. We'll keep the name calling to a maximum. We're not here to make friends. We already are friends. We're here to lose those friends. Do not wait until people are done talking to voice your opinion. That's the rule of all great radio and podcast platforms. Also on television, just yell at each other. Loudest voice wins. Ever watch First Take or Undisputed? That's the way they roll and make millions of dollars on their contract. That's what we are aiming for here on the Shall We Football Podcast. We're going to keep it brisk. One of us is probably going to have to shit. Phil is oh, he already used the toilet before we started. Any last words before we start, Mr. Mountstephens?
Yeah, I've had about 6 or 7 pints of cider watching the soccer over here, so I may need to go for the toilet immediately.
Phil, yeah. They call it
just
football.
Just tap out. There. Yeah. Shall we American football, gentlemen?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this.
I believe we shall. We begin at number 32, where we rank the lowly Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson probably out. AJ, what do you think? I
had them higher here. Okay, I had them higher here.
You did.
We'll get to Phil. I had them higher here, and then you told me no, he's probably not going to play. Which, if he's playing, this gives him another 6 spots. Maybe they still sucked with him. They added Marcus Cannon at guard. How much can that possibly help? He's a good player. The weapons are slightly above average at best. I don't know what the hell's going on in that defense, and this roster is totally gutted. Continue with your questioning of Phil.
Phil, how closely have you followed the Deshaun Watson saga thus far happening in the southern area?
I think it's safe to say probably as close as the masseuse's hand running up Deshaun Watson's style.
Yikes! Allegedly.
No, but I think it shows itself when in any fantasy football drafts that I've done where it's like the stick or twist. It's like how high or how low is Deshaun Watson gonna go? He's
rhymed and everything.
Yeah, just off the tip of the tongue. So I'm thinking that kind of tells you we need to know the public opinion is very much the jury is out, and I think no one wants to touch the Houston Texans with a 6 foot barge pole. So I think it's safe to say I'm in full agreement at the bottom of the rung. So they're not even like a tearing the foundation down, let's build up from the bottom kind of thing. They're like a season away from that. So they're on the way down.
Yeah, they're living in a shack
come back up
right now. They're living in shambles.
I have a question.
What? Yeah, in the back there with a hat.
What is a barge pole?
It's literally
it's a pole you push the barge off the bank with. You ever read Tom Sawyer?
Yeah, basically that. It's a prodding pole. You wouldn't touch someone with a barge pole that's 6 foot away from you. So you wouldn't even go within 6 feet of him.
Socially distanced from the
yeah.
To the extreme. To the extreme.
I think despite what happens with whatever is going on in the legal system with Deshaun Watson or his civil litigation that is currently working its way through the courts, he is no longer going to play for the Houston Texans. I don't think
we don't know that for sure. We don't know that for sure, but
that bridge
I agree with
is
you.
very much burned. And they are left with either Tyrod Taylor with one lung, Davis Mills
with two. He has two.
Well, yeah, one's deflated.
No, Davis Mills has two lungs.
Davis Mills has two lungs and only one working knee.
Well, like one set of lungs, but my understanding is that there's two separate. There's like one side, like two sides of it. But yeah,
I don't know how the human body works.
No, me neither.
Who was their backup behind Tyrod Taylor before they got Davis Mills? It was somebody, just a legend.
Peyton Manning. I don't know, man.
Good talk. Good talk.
I don't know.
By legend, I mean somewhere along like Blaine Gabbert area.
If it's not Gardner Minshew.
It's not Minshew. Minshew mania is still going on in Jacksonville. Yeah. Houston Texans, an easy number 32. Moving on, number 31. AJ has them ranked at 31, the New York Jets. Rookie quarterback and Zach Wilson. Their secondary is still just a garbage fire. Just not good. Their offensive weapons have improved significantly to slightly below average, beyond a middling college roster that they were last year. Jay Crowder is no longer their best receiver. They added Corey Davis. I actually sort of kind of like what they've been doing on the offensive side of the football. Their O-line is much improved, especially with their drafting of Elijah Vera Tucker. And they've got Mekhi Becton over there on the left as well. The defense should be okay. Added Carl Lawson to that defense. Jets, Jets. I have them ranked slightly higher, but it's still a dumpster fire.
So with rookie quarterbacks, when I rank this, what are we going to do? Project these guys based on Zach Wilson taking no snaps whatsoever? It's hard for me to bump rookie quarterbacks that are leading teams, that are like absolutely leading a team up too high. Now, again, that might mean that my Jaguars, my Jets rankings are way too low or high. I don't know how the fuck that works. They might not be as bad as I think they're going to be by these rankings, but that defense is like, it's got good players. The defensive tackles are really good quietly. Marcus May is a very, very good player, but he's the only thing going on in that secondary. And CJ Mosley is coming back, by the way. Surprised he's still in New York, but it is what it is. And Carl Lawson, good player. Nobody knows because he was in Cincinnati, but this is still the Jets.
They're going to be much improved from what they were last year. They're in a tough division with Miami and the Bills and the Patriots. They're still dead last in that division by a long shot.
I'd agree with that assessment. I am a little bit higher on Zach Wilson than maybe you guys are. I think maybe because I think he's benefited from not being in the spotlight for Trevor Lawrence in terms of the draft. He's kind of snuck under it. No one was debating about Zach Wilson, but there wasn't really much talk of him either. So I think he's kind of snuck under the radar a little bit. I think as long as the defensive line of any of the opposing teams don't start throwing up gang signs, I think he should be okay, because he looked pretty awkward on draft night when in the photo lineup. He thought he stumbled into the wrong neighborhood by all accounts.
I actually do like Zach Wilson. I don't think I like his face.
That is an excellent analysis.
I like him as a quarterback. Right. I really do like his stroke. I like his vision. I like his arm talent. Not a huge fan of his face.
Not to say it's unattractive objectively. I'm saying that it's punchable.
Handsome kid.
Yeah, that's exactly
punchably handsome young man.
Yeah, punchably handsome. Excellent analysis.
Yeah. You want to punch him to knock him down to a more mortal.
I would like to make him cry. his own tears.
Just kidding, Zach. We're not kidding, but we would never punch you. Also, we hope you succeed. Anyway, I think Zach Wilson is going to be a good player, but again, I struggle to project what these quarterbacks are going to do based on, having established quarterbacks, even bad ones, in front of them. Also, the Jets are we forgetting they still had the second pick in the draft? Is this quarterback, like, are we going to see? I mean, you saw what Justin Herbert did for the Chargers, and that was they still almost picked in the top 10, and Justin Herbert was really good, and that's a better team around him.
Yep. So, like where Phil said that the Texans aren't even to the point where they can start building a foundation, the Jets are to that point where they are building a foundation, but they're still laying down cinder blocks. They're not even close to starting to build.
I think they benefit from being, like you just said about their division. They're still dead last, but that's not necessarily a damning indictment that they're just terrible. It's more a case of that division's getting stronger by
that division's really good.
I mean, you've got an arguably weakening Patriots, but you've got an up and coming Bills, a Miami Dolphins, which no one knows whether they're going to go plus 500 or less than 500 this season, but people are excited about them. I think New York Jets are sort of the Miami Dolphins of last season, maybe the season before. So if they continue where they are, then that division is going to be a pretty strong division. If Bill Belichick works his magic, you could have
he's
an incredibly competitive division there.
I have a bold prediction that no team in this division is going to finish exactly 500.
That is bold, and I'm not sure I'm understanding the relevance.
Not.
I promise that no team in the AFC East will finish exactly 5-12. We keep forgetting there's another game now.
That's why they can't finish 500. There's an odd number of games.
Balls.
Thanks for explaining that to me. I wasn't aware of that.
I'm sorry. Immature.
Number 30. The Jacksonville Jaguars. AJ says also a rookie quarterback, still bad offensive tackles. That is objectively true. I think their offensive weapons are teetering on the above side of average. That defense has talent. They do get a healthy Josh Allen back. The secondary did get help, but they did have that number 1 overall pick for a reason. Once again, Andrew Luck, who this young man, Mr. Lawrence with the long hair, has been compared to, he was also a number 1 pick for a reason. And the next year they went 11-5. So could Trevor Lawrence make that kind of an impact? I don't know. That's a big ask.
Yeah, that is a big ask. Also, Andrew Luck no longer plays football because of the beating that he received from carrying that team. His back was hurting because he carried that team for half a decade.
He did rupture his spleen as well, too. So I have the Jaguars at 28 on mine. I have the Jets at 29. And I think we're going to get to my number 31 pick. No, Jets at 30, Jaguars at 29. Excuse me, math is hard. But I do think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be in that bottom 5 conversation, just because they are starting that foundation as well, along with the Jets. I do think they have more pieces right now. They started.
What do you think about this? What do you think about Julio Jones? Because they've got the cap space. What about Julio Jones going there? I have not heard that spoken about much. I don't know how well that would jive with the rebuilding process, but that would certainly give old T-Law a reliable target.
Julio wants to win now. He said so to Shannon Sharp when he didn't know that he was on live television yesterday.
Didn't he?
I don't think he did. That is journalistically unethical. I'm not a huge fan of how that played out.
No, not even close.
Not a fan.
How much of an idiot, do you have to be to not realize that your mate who's calling you, who's a regular sort of participant in a live TV show, may or may not be ringing you up? Just to be a little bit cautious. If you didn't realize, if it was, as you say, it is legitimately entrapment, I think you'd almost be a little bit cautious, and you wouldn't be so full blown and I ain't staying there. you'd be hedging your bets and be a bit cagey. I think at least that staged all day long.
I would think so. It has.
So
been
wide
reported for a
receivers
couple of
in the
months.
NFL are never cagey.
No, they're not.
Never cagey. They are the least cagey.
Wide receivers and corners are the cageless ones.
Yeah, they have been untethered, and their rage knows no bounds.
He wants to win now. I don't think he would go to the Jaguars unless they forced him to go to the Jaguars.
There's that.
I think the Falcons are going to try to do right by Julio. He's been a lot of that franchise over the course of his career.
I do.
I don't think if he said, I don't want to go to the Jaguars, I don't think that trade's going to happen. Arthur Blank is actually a good dude.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think that would happen. I think that Trevor Lawrence would certainly appreciate it, but I think it's a moot point.
Yep.
Yeah,
number 29. Sorry, AJ, go ahead. I was just following the rules and talking over you.
Fuck you. Just kidding.
Yeah. Detroit Lions, number 29. I had them at 31. So right around the same area, another bottom 5 team. By the end of the year last year, that defense was the JV squad of NFL defenses. They were absolutely horrendous. But they did put a lot into the defensive line. They have no wide receivers anymore. They did make a wonderful pick in Penei Sewell in the top 10, but one man does not make an offensive line. You can probably expect them to be in the Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler running next year for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. One of them is going to go number 1. I expect the other to go number 2, just like they did this year with Lawrence and Wilson and Lance. So Detroit Lions, they do have Jared Goff. He went to a Super Bowl.
Did he?
He did.
Do you remember it?
Yeah. yeah. It's just is that Sean McVay or is that Jared Goff? I don't think it matters. I don't even think it matters because Jared Goff was good there. If he's good here, he's still going to have Matt Stafford. I mean, Matt Stafford, I think, is a better quarterback, and they still picked what, 7th?
Yeah.
Same team, slightly less quarterback, slightly less talented quarterback. I mean, how do you project them to be any better than this, getting worse at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think they could be not historically bad, but still really, really bad.
The Detroit Lions for me are, like, from my small snapshot into the NFL community, were a team I immediately identified as sort of like bland, vanilla, boring as hell, not really worth investing any time in. And then they went and signed Jared Goff, and that didn't change. So I'm almost angry. Like, I get it. Like, if it wasn't for the picks that they got with Jared Goff, I mean, it's a master stroke of we'll take your unwanted quarterback who has been to a Super Bowl. Admittedly, there's some positives there, but it's the picks. It's almost just like, we'll take your picks. Oh, okay, we'll take Jared Goff as well. All right, okay, no worries.
We will shoulder his massive contract for you, no problem. Just give us all of your first-round picks.
Yeah, because we're not going anywhere. We'll take your picks so that next year we can we can do whatever we want. Yeah, it's just the Penei Sewell signing is obviously the wild card in that factor. I think obviously there might be an interesting from that side of the ball, but other than that, moving on.
Yeah, Sewell's a guy that could be there for a decade and potentially only be a good team in his last 2 years there, because it's going to take that long.
Let me put it this way. In contrast to the previous teams having rookie quarterbacks that may be ranked, that I might not be projecting to be as good as they actually will be, I think this is ceiling territory for the Detroit Lions at number 29.
I agree. Number 28, the Bungles of Cincinnati. Too much skyline chili, no indoor practice facility, outdoor diarrhea is what the Bengals are.
What?
Skyline chili is a line of chili restaurants in Cincinnati that is admittedly delicious, but I have to be within a 15-minute drive of a restroom when I eat Skyline chili.
Definitely can't be practicing football outdoors.
Outdoors is better than indoors because the smell wafts away in the wind.
So to me, this is a huge wild card, right? Joe Burrow. I mean, I expect him to be like I think most a franchise quarterback that elevates this team to where the Bengals haven't been since maybe Carson Palmer or a half a year of Andy Dalton.
Yep.
So this could be way off. But if you look at the numbers, Joe Burrow wasn't fantastic, even before he got hurt. And then to that point, Jackson Carman and who did they sign as their right tackle? Is that Riley Reif?
Riley Reif.
Yeah,
yes.
Riley Reif. So does that move the needle for you protecting Joe Burrow's golden knees?
Nope.
Not here either.
Golden glass knees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fixator on injuries. I mean, I've said it before in other areas. I've got glass ankles, and whenever I set foot on a football pitch, it's always in the back of your mind. You strap up your ankles. You see someone piling in towards you. You never know how you're going to come back from an injury, and especially an ACL or an MCL injury that he had, and then knowing that your team didn't invest any significant capital in the one area that's going to stop that happening again. Like, it's going to take someone with a lot of mental fortitude to basically not be bothered by that in the slightest. So for me, the Bengals are very much it's too hot to handle for me, I think.
Yeah, I am also poorly put together, so that makes two of us, Phil. My feet at 33 years old are firmly planted on the ground. This
when
team,
he says firmly planted on the ground, he means that his feet are flat as shit.
They are not good. It is really, really bad. All of my feet are on the ground.
I know a guy I played football with. He suffered an ACL about 3 years ago now, and he won't come back and play for the team because we still play on the same pitch. It's that psychological for him that he. I mean, I kind of get it. I don't sort of go seriously. It's more like I can understand. He's got the flashbacks. He's got the concept. He can't play the way he played because he's not going into tackles. He's avoiding things he didn't avoid before. And I think that has a big impact on a normal NFL player, let alone one who's only spent sort of 5 games last season.
5 or 6, yeah. I am going to say that his doctors are probably pretty good. And he did show up and participate in OTAs this week.
What a trooper.
His doctors are saying, and he is saying, his knee's about 85% right now. He should be good to go by the start of the season. NFL players are a certain sort of crazy where they can sort of forget about that. And I think health-wise and mentally, he's going to be fine. It's really the pieces around him and keeping him upright and healthy. I don't think his brain is going to be a problem. And with the advancement in medical surgeries and science and rehab, I don't think his knee is really going to be a problem either. But they also still don't have an offensive line. He has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and the Boyd kid. What's his name, AJ?
Tosh.
Taj Boyd. Yes, former quarterback at Clemson. Yeah. No, not that.
That's what Boyd. I mean. Like it's not the structural integrity of his knee that I'm worried about. It's the structural integrity of his mental fortitude. Like you just don't know until you set back foot on that.
You're right.
That field in game one competitively.
I can make the assumption that I think he's probably going to be okay because NFL players are lunatics, but you're completely right. We have no idea what he's going to be. So I think 28 is probably a pretty fair spot for the Bengals at this point. I do believe in mine, I had them a little bit higher. I had them at 32, 1, 0, 9, 8, 7. I had them at 26. So on to 27. The Atlanta Falcons, 4th overall pick in last year's draft with Matt Ryan at 100% all year long. Julio Jones, AJ writes, if on the slide, I do believe that should be changed to a win at this point, but that is still to be seen.
Listen,
June 1st
buddy,
is right around the
assumptions are
corner.
like buttholes. Just remember
We all
that.
have one?
Sure. I don't really know how to finish that.
I do.
Phil does.
Yeah, Pitts and Jones, Kyle Pitts at 4th overall, probably the best playmaker in that draft. Their defense was horrendous last year, trying to make some sort of fix from what Dan Quinn did to them for 3 years. They did lose Alex Mack to the 49ers at center, so their offensive line will suffer. Alex Mack, one of the best in the league. Pitts and Ridley is still going to be pretty good.
Pitts and Ridley is going to be good, but I think it's only going to have as much impact as Jones and Ridley did.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. This team is still a long way off. I don't know what Arthur Smith is going to do with a completely different set of skill position players than he had in Tennessee. You don't have Derrick Henry walking through the door in Atlanta.
You does not. Mike Davis is no Derrick Henry. Mike Davis is not a slouch. Mike Davis, I'm glad to see him get his own gig. But
he's very good,
that's
but he is not Derrick
exactly
Henry.
Yeah.
The Titans ran the ball more than any other team in the NFL on neutral downs, where in non-passing, non-running, leaning situations, they chose to run it more than anybody else because they had Derrick Henry. What are they going to do now that they don't have Derrick Henry or a feasible offensive line? So we'll see. That's still a very bad team.
Yeah, and poor Deion Jones sitting there at linebacker making plays. Poor Grady Jarrett being amazing and basically passed over as much as is possible because that defense is just so bad.
Yep.
And then on the offensive line, Chris Lindstrom is playing some good ball. Jake Matthews is still Jake Matthews. Right tackle, Caleb McGarry. I think that's it. He, I don't know if that's really shown up as the first round draft pick he was selected as to solidify right tackle. We're not looking at Taylor Lewan and Jack Conklin for sure. When that was a thing in Tennessee, how does this? What about what they did makes this team better than the 4th overall pick? I'm kind of drawing a blank.
I don't know if they could have done anything that makes them better than the 4th overall pick in the 2022 draft.
Mm-hmm.
They have so many holes to fill and such a horrendous salary cap situation. The only reason they have to get rid of Julio Jones is because they can't sign their rookies until they do. They have no money.
I think maybe they're a victim of the draft position. So I think the 4th pick in this year's draft was probably the greatest uncertainty. They maybe could have gone quarterback. They could have gone Kyle Pitts. They could have gone a number of different ways.
They could have gone Sewell even.
Yeah, and they could have traded back. Like maybe a sensible person would have kind of gone, this pick's valuable. Let's try and get back a few spots. Try and get a couple of picks and reinforce some more areas. But when you're in 4th and you know Pitts, Chase, and all that sort of shebang is waiting for you, it's like I can see how you can maybe get a twitchy trigger finger and just pull the trigger on someone like Kyle Pitts just because he's there and the everything that's surrounding him. I'd find it hard not to do what they've done, but being a different team to where, say, the Eagles are, which I know a little bit more about, it's more of a case of, I think I can't blame them for doing that, but I can see where you guys are putting them at this level because it's not what they need. It's not what they should have done, but it's sort of maybe what they had to do.
See, the only problem with any of those scenarios is you still have to get rid of Julio Jones and his contract, because if you do trade back and get more draft picks, that just means you have to sign more guys. They don't have the money to sign their draft picks right now.
Yeah,
they have no money.
You guys want to start like a GoFundMe?
Yeah, GoFundMe for the Falcons. I like that. Let's bump their salary cap. Every little bit helps. Number 26, the Carolina Panthers. Bridgewater is now a Bronco. Teddy is gone. The 2 gloves have moved to Denver. That move to Sam Darnold AJ is correct. At Sam Darnold's best, that is an equal trade. They are going to be equally effective. Darnold's going to take more risks, which provides more reward, but also provides more terrible things that could happen. Having Christian McCaffrey back is huge. The offensive line did get worse, though. They didn't draft a left tackle until Brady Christensen in the 3rd round. They did add J.C. Horn at quarterback. That was a decent pick, I believe. Probably should have been Justin Fields. Maybe they did get Hassan Reddick at edge. They're still not going to be great. Christian Williams, our guest from 2 podcasts ago, the NFC draft grades with eggplants. He loved their draft, and he predicted them to be a playoff team. And I think that is not correct.
He was semi-upset that Justin Fields did not go here.
He flew into a rage. If you don't know that, listen to the cast. Took his shirt off, ran around the house, screamed obscenities at his children.
Yeah, we had to talk him down.
Yeah,
we had to talk him down. So that's
not good.
Yeah, that's not enough to move the needle. Now, if they have a left tackle here, I can maybe fathom moving them up a spot or two. They're at 26 right now. Part of me is only ranking them ahead of the Falcons because I told someone that I would, and I'm a man of my word.
Attaboy.
Yeah. I'm a man of my word. Props to me. But I do actually think that they're better than the Falcons. Even that defense that's just getting close to decent.
They have pieces. They have pieces.
Exactly. And it's still better than anything the Falcons can field.
Yeah. If Joe Brady can get the best out of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, this might be way off.
They will finish 3rd in their division.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there. I'm excited to see what Darnold's going to do outside of New York and to see if he's as good as he maybe showed flashes of in New York. I think if he goes there and with a weapon like McCaffrey at his disposal, it's exciting to see. But you're right with the offensive line not being up to the standard that the minimum standard you'd expect to actually have a fighting chance. I think it's going to be another year of scrambling for Darnold for his life, seeing ghosts.
I will say that Joe Brady took a 3-star prospect in front of a very much overrated offensive line and turned him into a Heisman Trophy winner and number 1 overall pick.
Some had Burrow as a 4-star. Like, I don't think he was quite, he's not Justin Fields.
Nope.
He's not even Jake Fromm.
Nope.
Coming out of, actually, Jake Fromm was pretty highly regarded.
He was 5-star.
He was big time. None of these guys, all these guys were rated significantly higher than Joe Burrow, 3 or 4-star. But if Joe Brady can do what he did for Joe Burrow, but I mean, he didn't do that for Teddy Bridgewater. He didn't do that. Now, I think Sam Darnold is maybe marginally more physically talented, way less
23.
injury prone. Yeah.
He does have the mononucleosis.
He did.
You don't need the mono to flare up again mid-season. That'd be a rough look. 25.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah.
What trickery is this? What's going on here? Here I was thinking that why do they want me to come on to the 32-17 rundown when clearly the Eagles are going to be somewhere in the realms of top 10 somewhere? No, of course, I fully expect this to come in. I'm quite surprised that we've got to 25 and we're only just getting round to the insults are going to come flying in imminently. I feel I've not even read what's on the screen yet, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty terrible. So go ahead, guys, do your worst.
This is a team that was probably the second most affected by injury in the NFL last season behind the San Francisco 49ers. Their entire offensive line was absolutely gutted with injuries. Carson Wentz was objectively bad, actually bad. So, get the offensive line back healthy. Give Jalen Hurts a little bit of time back there. Add a weapon or two around him with Devonta Smith AJ will be watching Devonta Smith just very excitedly. 5 eggplants.
I'm always
when
watching.
AJ watches Devonta Smith. But they do, as AJ said at the bottom there, they do need perfect health. Their secondary is not good. Skill positions, fine. Even if Zach Ertz does leave, Zach Ertz had an awful year last season, possibly related to the fact that his quarterback was awful, and also possibly he was injured for the majority of the season. If this team's healthy, they're still very shallow. They have some talent. I do agree that they are down in the mid-20s as far as power rankings go. If things go absolutely wonderfully for them, they could win their division.
They very well could. They very well could. This is all. I mean, look, this team is really good in the trenches, but they're old, and like you said, they were just decimated by injuries. But if Andre Dillard can improve, they still got Kelsey, they've still got Brooks, they've still got Johnson. On defense, they've still got Graham, they've still got Barnett, they've still got Cox. These are really, really good players. Fletcher Cox, save Aaron Darnold, can be the second best interior defensive lineman in football.
Who was that?
Aaron Diana?
Aaron Darnold?
Aaron Diana? I don't know what we're doing right now. Did I say Darnold?
I have no idea, guys, what you were saying. So.
And Phil's checked out entirely.
I've just glazed over at this point because you guys are just clutching at straws here. I mean, I'm only joking.
Talk to us, Phil. Talk to us, Phil.
I think to me, they've done the perfect. They've struck the perfect balance of looking to the future and retooling, rebuilding, whatever you want to phrase it as. But they've done enough to remain competitive. So they're not tanking. They're just sort of going, okay, we're putting on the 75% of our focus on 22, but we're going to do it enough so that, hey, if the division's terrible, we could get a wild card or a playoff spot. And, at the end of the day, there's something to be said for Jalen Hurts getting one playoff game win, which will mean he'll have one more playoff win than Carson Wentz. So it gives me enough to be invested in the season, going, hey, anything's possible. This is a free hit season. As long as I'm happy with plus 500. Obviously, I know it can't be exactly 500, but it's. I think I'll be excited if they win. If they're over 500, like I've said. But it's more the fact that I'm interested to see how the team develops under the new coaching regime. I think if they manage to lock it down and the players that they brought in perform above average, even if Ertz does go, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. So I don't really care where the Eagles are placed in any rankings. I don't really care whether people think they're going to come fourth, third, second, first, playoffs. Nothing. Ultimately, I think they've got enough to keep me invested, and I know where the teams put their priorities. So I'm okay with whatever you throw at me. It's fine.
He just hopes they have fun. Here's my question, Phil, and I think this is a question for Panthers fans as well. If they're gonna stink, don't you want them to stink a lot and get a better draft pick? Because if the Panthers stink, Panthers fans probably should root for Sam Darnold to really stink.
See, this is where I probably come unstuck from the conventional football fan, is that I had a few moments like this during the last season when I was having conversations which involved Bengals fans and teams that have tanked over the last couple of seasons, is that I can't actively root for my team to lose. And that just comes from from supporting soccer and sports over in the UK. It's that it doesn't exist over here. You don't tank because there's relegation. There's genuine consequences for losing games. It's like it's all or nothing. So when it comes to the NFL, I'm trying to understand. I completely get it. When the Eagles were competitive and they were in contention for the NFC East, I was wanting them to win. But as soon as it was not going to happen, I was like, well, I'd rather them get a better draft pick. So it's hard for me to give you an answer that you probably want. I'm just very much like, I want them to just be the best. I don't really care what the outcome is. I just want to see people try. I want to see people improve. I want to see a cohesive unit. And if that means that they get over 500 and get a poor draft position, then so be it. But if they try their best, but they're still just not winning games, then that's also not a bad thing.
Fair.
Ryan just wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah, kind of like the Panthers last year. They didn't win a lot of games, but they rarely got destroyed. They were in most of their losses. So I understand that.
For a team this low, I mean, you have guys that have recently been to the Pro Bowl along the trenches, which would lead you to believe that this team would be much higher than 25. Injury bugs can be fluky, but they need great health in the trenches. And if they do, I mean, that you could be looking at two of the best units in the game, but that's a lot of ifs. And they're, Johnson and Brooks, and especially Kelsey, especially Graham on the other side, and even Cox. These guys are getting up there. Barnett's still hitting his stride, and probably some more.
It feels like there's an infinite number of possibilities for the Eagles, and
they were tough to place. They were really tough to place.
Yep. Now we're back to number 24, the New York Giants.
This must sting, Phil.
Giants.
Not at all. I'm looking forward to hearing the justification.
Shout out to Paul here real quick. Shout out to Paul.
No, Paul doesn't deserve any more airtime. Come on, guys, let's just go on with it.
I think this is actually worst possible scenario for the Giants. This is if Daniel Jones stinks out loud, because that defense is actually good. They played really, really well at the end of last year, and they do get Saquon Barkley back, hopefully fully healthy. Their offensive line is not any better, but they did add some weapons. Azeez Ojulari, good enough to make the pass rush elite. We don't know yet or not. He also has some injury concerns with a knee. Adoree Jackson, Titans fans are happy to see him go to New York and see if he can excel there. Kind of been a disappointment in Tennessee. Their front seven on their defense, excellent. Their offensive line with Nate Solder back, we hope is better.
Still lost Kevin Zeitler to the Baltimore Ravens. That's for whatever that's worth.
Yep. This is putting all of the eggs in Daniel Jones's hand and hoping he can make it to the frying pan with them all still intact.
Not a great track record.
Not great. He loves to fumble the football, which is one of my favorite things, is watching Daniel Jones fumble. I love every second of that.
Phil, do you also love that?
Yeah.
I personally think Daniel Jones stinks. I don't think he's the answer, and I don't think the New York Giants are going to be very good. But their defense is better than most. So I think this is about as low as they could tumble at 24.
They're caught in that awkward position with the quarterback, where he's not good enough to believe him, but he's not bad enough to be done with. So they're kind of stuck with him for another season. But on top of that, Barkley's another one, and just obviously echoing the point I made earlier about injuries. This one is another particularly sticky one for me because it was his quad, wasn't it? Correct?
Say again?
It was his quad. Yeah. So for a player of him, nicknamed Quadzilla and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. When still squatting 600 pounds.
Yeah.
God damn.
It's like that. It's not until you need that explosive bit of pace. Like, it's all good and say like, oh yeah, I'm 100% in training, where you're kind of taking it easy or you're not under any pressure. But when it's that moment where you're not consciously thinking about what you're doing, you're just doing what you do best, and that's explosive pace. And that one moment where you just hear that ping, oh, that's the injury gone again. It feels like everyone's sort of, it's same with CMC, obviously, with the injury. Injuries just are a massive thing in the back of my mind. I just can't get over the fact that I know you can say that NFL players are robust and they've probably got many people around them to whisper sweet nothings into their ears and say you're the best thing since sliced bread and there's nothing that's going to go wrong in your life.
Sweet nothings.
But I just think that it's that moment where you're on your own on the field the ball's in your hands and you're just trying to get past that player and something just goes, no. And that's it, season over again. I mean, I generally don't want these players to go there, but it just prevents me from going, yeah, I think the Giants are going to be really, really high up in the NFC East. I think there's just too many ifs with injuries for me. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with third in the NFC East for the New York Giants, I think, this year.
I think that's probably safe. I think this is a safe place to put the Giants. Number 23, as we move along, is the Denver Broncos. This has a couple of asterisks on my list.
Indeed.
If they have a certain gray-bearded gentleman coming from Wisconsin to sling it around in the thin air at Mile High Stadium, they're going to be in the top 10, I do believe. But they do have the stupidest faced quarterback in the league. That is currently had a track record in the league. Drew Lock.
That's not a very nice way to talk about Teddy Bridgewater.
I just want to bring up the picture in his. If you just Google Teddy Bridgewater white pants and go to images, you'll never talk bad about Teddy Bridgewater again. Cortland Sutton is back. Patrick Surtain, Kyle Fuller, and some safeties as well. The defense is legitimately good when Von Miller's back and healthy. It's really all about what they do at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
This is a team whose roster is very good, and who knows? Drew Lock has been getting those same sweet nothings whispered into his ear by one Peyton Manning in the offseason. We'll see how this turns out. I truly believe that Aaron Rodgers has a genuine shot at being a Denver Bronco.
But I'm moving off of this earth if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Broncos. It is unfair that John Elway keeps backing in to great quarterbacks at the end of their career who have been cast away. I mean, the Colts had a significantly better reason to do it than the Packers have right now, but he lucks into another all-time great quarterback. I'm moving to space.
This one split me and the boys on Next Man Up when we were doing our fixture predictions on who, win loss predictions. I think Mick was very much in the sense that they've improved a lot of key areas. Patrick Surtain being the standout guy, and he put that down as a loss for the Eagles. Whereas me and Liam were sort of firmly in the camp that it's all good and well having everything else around you being top notch, but if you've got no one to throw the fucking ball to them, then it all falls flat on its face. So I think if they don't get Rodgers, then I put them much lower. But I think you are right. There's strong rumors, and I'm quite excited to see the idea of Rodgers maybe going to the Broncos and bumping them up a lot into that sort of unknown quantity mark, maybe pulling a few surprises, seeing how he can do. I'm quite excited by that prospect, but if they don't, then this stupid doo-doo face is just going to cause them all sorts of issues. And it's going to.
Have you guys seen Aaron Rodgers' pictures in Hawaii, by the way, where he is instead of off-season activities in Green Bay right now?
His face just annoys me anyway, Aaron Rodgers. Like
he does not look like an in-shape human.
I mean, like I get it. Like NFL helmets are not the most flattering head accessory to put on your head to take out on a night out to pull a fine young lady or anything like that. But he is the one person whenever I see him in an NFL helmet, I just like, how are you an NFL quarterback? How are you like one of the top quarterbacks in the country? You look like fucking Luigi from Super Mario or something like that.
Old Turd Ferguson up there slinging it around in Hawaii.
This is all QB dependent. This is all QB dependent.
100%.
And the thing is, even if Rodgers is there, the Packers have a significantly better offensive line than the Broncos can sniff. Even Bobby Massey at right tackle.
Rodgers has succeeded in Green Bay before with terrible offensive lines. So that it is ultimately QB dependent. Roster as constructed right now, 23 is fair. 22 Las Vegas Raiders. John Gruden should have the reins taken away from him as far as roster moves go. A pretty good offensive line last year. He just, gave him away basically. Signed or drafted Alex Leatherwood, probably 50 picks too high. Got a new center in there. Their wide receivers are below average. Henry Ruggs is really fast, but that's about it. Got rid of Nelson Aguilar. They were 79 last year, and Derek Carr's probably best year of his career. Their defense was trash. They didn't know how to tackle. They did get Trayvon Merrick in the second round, which
that was theft.
That was a miracle for them.
Uh,
And Yannick Ngakoue is an upgrade for the pass rush. Does not like to play against the run. So I think this team probably regressed.
These guys are actually kind of hard. I'm blown away that they were 7-9 last year, and I credit Derek Carr for them being 7-9. It's a miracle that they were not worse than this. Actually, they could have, if Greg Williams isn't a fucking moron, they'd be 6-10. But as it stands, Greg Williams is a fucking moron. Sorry, Greg.
The most exciting thing about this team is the nightclub in the stadium, I think, for this season. And it's going to be, I think more people are intrigued about how that's going to work and exactly how that's going to impact stadium ambiance.
In-zone bottle service. Let's roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to be honest, don't get me wrong, it's probably quite a desirable place to play. Hey, you've just got your ass handed to you by the Chiefs. You've conceded 10 touchdowns in the game, but hey, let's go and get shit-faced in a nightclub. Hey, there's just one over here, funnily enough. And apart from that, you go and getting all serious and that they've got rid of their most productive wide receiver, which was our most hated wide receiver the season before that. So it kind of, they've kind of one step forward, one step back, maybe step and a half back. But Merrick is one player I had on a lot of my draft boards, and I was really excited about, hoping that the Eagles would be able to pick him up. And he was on the board when the Eagles picked up Dickerson. So
I love that kid.
That remains to be seen on whether who's going to get the better guy out of that. I know why things have fallen, but I think Merrick was just such a strong candidate. He should have been snapped up so much earlier than that. So I think that's the candle that they're holding up right now. That's the one. That's what they're clinging to. That's the hope for them, I think.
So this is the Lions to me, in the sense that I think this is, whereas a lot of the other teams we're talking about floors, I think we're talking about ceiling here.
This is as good as the Raiders could be, and this is if Derek Carr equals his production from last year.
Mm-hmm.
At 21, we had the Los Angeles Chargers. They did something about their offensive line. Hell has frozen over.
Oh, God be praised.
Rashawn Slater at 13 in the draft. They also picked up Ryan Lindsley.
Corey.
Was Lindsley a punter? The Ryan Lindsley?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He may have been. Corey Lindsley. But they did address their offensive line, which has traditionally been horrible. They did lose Hunter Henry at tight end. They're not deep in the skill positions. Their defense they've got some dudes in
they have dudes.
One of the Bosa's in Derwin James when he's healthy, but they are lacking depth. I have them significantly higher because Justin Herbert is going to be able to, stand on his feet a little bit longer behind a rebuilt offensive line and a new coaching staff. They cannot be worse than they were last season on defense and special teams, because they were just embarrassing late game collapses last year, and maybe the worst special teams play I have ever seen in the NFL, which was a joy to watch. I have them significantly higher than 21. I think this is a floor situation.
Yeah, I agree. The other issue is that secondary, outside of James, who, by the way, hasn't been healthy in the history of health. They lost Casey Hayward, again, aging, but still made the all-decade team somewhere, which he should make it all wears everywhere.
Yep.
Chris Harris is currently the best cornerback they have,
and
he is elderly. He's collecting his pension simultaneously. Michael Davis, so they did.
Oklahoma.
He's from Tulsa?
Yeah. Chris Harris.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Asante Samuel was picked up. That does not immediately move the needle for me in the secondary. Could be a good player. I think he will be a good player.
Yeah.
Kenneth Murray, by the way, still waiting on that. I think he's going to be fabulous. Good player.
Yep.
That defense scares me, especially the secondary with what they're going to be dealing with the Chiefs. Although, I guess when you look at the Raiders and the Broncos,
I think they're the second best team in that division.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's particularly close right now.
I think it could be right. They could run away well above this, especially like you said, this is floor. And I guess I'm projecting that defense to be just that bad and the injury bug to hit them as it does every year.
Yeah. I think their ceiling is somewhere around 11 to 14.
The Chargers excite me, I think. And they're a little bit.
Phil's excited.
Well, it doesn't sound it, I know. I'm excited by the Chargers. They're a bit of they're a little bit of a dark horse for me in terms of I think they probably sounds like they lucked into a quarterback in my eyes in terms of they weren't planning to have Herbert in as early as they did. He's turned out to be a revelation for them. They've signed some really quality players to protect him, and I think that they have got a good shot. They're not by any means the finished product, but in terms of in comparisons, looking at the Dolphins in terms of achieving above expectation, I think they're going to achieve higher than most people's expectations this year. Whether that materializes into anything, I just think they might sort of keep a sneaky eye on them and sort of care about whether they win or lose because I want them to do well. I like Herbert. I like the team. I think they've been dealt a bad deck in certain areas, and I think that they've got a couple of reasons to be optimistic, and I'm just curious about them this season. I think.
I agree.
Big concern. Big concern is what if Mike Williams or Keenan Allen goes out? I'll let you guys stew on that.
Yeah, I am much higher on the Chargers. I love them, and they have potentially the best uniforms in professional football when they wear the powder blues. Number 20, the Chicago Bears. It's either Justin Fields or Andy Dalton. Justin Fields is probably going to be tremendous, but he is also a rookie and has never played it down in the NFL, so we have no idea what he's going to be behind an offensive line that isn't great. Or Andy Dalton, which is
also not depressing. Not great.
Yeah, their defense is not as good as their reputation. Still fine. Still have Khalil Mack. The cornerback room is not great. They don't have anything at the skill positions outside of Allen Robinson, and he doesn't want to be there anymore. Tariq Cohen, if he's healthy, is okay. They do have Tevin Jenkins in the building. They're going to play him somewhere on that offensive line. He says he can play any of the 5 positions. Love the confidence from the Oklahoma State Cowboy. This, like AJ said, this is also a very QB-driven ranking. Justin Fields at his best, and if he plays well and Matt Nagy gets the most out of him, this is still not a great team.
Yeah, it's Allen Robinson or bust on the skill positions. Not to take too much away from Montgomery and Cohen. They're good players. I don't know if they're transcendent players. Allen Robinson is buddy, I love Notre Dame. Come on. You know what? Maybe. I mean, that dude has the body type to be as good as he wants to be. And good dude. Is that what's going to change this for you? A tight end that went from being okay, whatever, to cool, great. That's nice. They both tackles are gone, and they're replacing them with a 2nd-round draft pick, just like the Panthers are. The defense buoys these guys up here, and I may have let my Justin Fields bias get in play, get in the way here at number 20. Also, you said the cornerback room, not great. The defense, you sustain an injury or two, and there's going to be problems.
Oh.
But I mean, they've still got Khalil Mack, they've still got Nathan, they've still got Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn. They still got they've got dudes on the D line and still players. This is another kind of tough one to place.
Yeah, this is way too high for me, but I say way too high. I think I would have them sort of 3 or 4 places back.
I don't disagree with that.
There's too much uncertainty. Dalton's going to start week 1 most likely, and it's just going to be a question of when Fields comes in. I think halfway through the season they could shoot straight up if it all works out, but I just think that there's too many uncertainties. So I think this is optimistic. If I'm being generous, I think I agree. The coaching setup's still the same. So if they had a new head coach, I'd maybe thinking 20 is about right. But I think Matt Nagy's just, I'm not convinced by him at all, and even Fields might not be able to improve that.
Well, he got Mitchell Trubisky to the playoffs.
That was remarkable, and also they went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah. He got Mitchell Trubisky to the playoffs. So that was the Bears at 20. At number 19, New England Patriots. I think this is also low for the New England Patriots. Could be Cam Newton. Could be our sweet Prince McCorkle.
Sweet. He's beautiful.
Wide receivers do need work, but they did sign all of the tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Offensive line is always going to be good. They do get Dante Hightower back. He opted out last year. They signed Kyle Van Noy back from the Dolphins. Matthew Judon coming in from Baltimore. Secondary is deep, but they are getting old. Christian Barmore, love that kid. He's going to be a force. The next Vince Wilfork in the middle of their defensive line. Once again, a very QB-dependent ranking, but knowing Josh McDaniels in that system, I don't think it matters who plays quarterback.
This putting them here made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
very uncomfortable. Yeah, it's just it's Cam. We saw what happens with Cam Newton there. We saw that ceiling. It's tough with him and McCorkle here. I love McCorkle. Obviously, we love McCorkle. What's not to love? But he's still a rookie.
Yep.
This one was really tough, and the more I look at it, the more uncertain I feel about this. I do think this is floor. This is without a doubt.
Yeah,
floor.
Absolutely. They could finish third in that division. They could also win that division.
If anyone can make a sack of shit turn into Tom Brady, it's Bill Belichick.
Are you calling McCorkle a sack of shit, Phil?
I've called him worse before.
Phil!
I've called him a day off tub of potato salad. You name it. The guy is an enigma, in my opinion. I just don't quite know how to work him out. He doesn't look like a quarterback. He doesn't walk like a quarterback.
He throws like one.
He does throw like one. That's kind of what intrigues me. Is that it's one of those things where it's like when a really, really large gentleman has a really high pitched voice. It's like, what the fuck's going on with this guy?
Jared Lorenzen didn't look like a quarterback. He won a Super Bowl. Rest in peace, Jared Lorenzen.
Rest in peace.
But I'm just intrigued more than anything with, like you said, like you guys are really hot on him, and it's adorable because I generally am more enamored with this guy because of your infatuation with him, and I'm just like, I'm believing in him because of that.
Oh yeah, you should.
The Patriots played a blinder by holding firm and him falling to them, and I think Belichick's going to work his magic, and it's going to be interesting, especially with Cam Newton in the building, because he doesn't want to play backup, and he's going to play backup. So at some point, maybe not immediately,
they're going to Tim Tebow him and put him at tight end.
You'll love it there.
He'd be dominant. Number 18, we have the Washington football team, who do have a former quarterback playing tight end in Logan Thomas. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be really good for like 8 games in the season, and in the other 9, he is going to stink. Their defensive line may be the best in the National Football League.
Nice.
Linebackers and defensive backs are much improved. Offensive line is still not great. Their skill positions are getting better. This is really going to be Ryan Fitzmagic and those tight shorts that he wears in practice. Did you know he went to Harvard?
Did he go to Harvard?
I think so. The Mighty Crimson.
I've heard.
Yeah. I think this team's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So where did you have them?
Let me look here real quick.
Jesus,
Not much
would
higher
you-
than this. Not much higher than this. I had them at 15.
I had them there at one point. I could not justify putting that team, spoiler alert, above the Cowboys. With
Yeah,
that,
I had
Dak
them
Prescott.
just above the Cowboys.
How
Yep.
dare you, sir? How dare you? I think Fitzpatrick is almost like in equal measure a positive factor and a negative factor.
Agreed.
Yep, that's the best way to sum it up.
They've signed a lot of the team. Like if you took Fitzmagic out of the equation and you didn't know who the quarterback was, or you made a presumption that it was still the same quarterback as last season, you'd be like, damn, Washington are going to be a really competitive force and probably top contender for the East. But with Fitzpatrick, he's exciting, but not if he's your quarterback.
That is
remarkable.
That's the biggest thing for me.
He could have a Jameis Winston-esque type season with 35 touchdowns and 32 interceptions.
I think
I'm so pumped for that.
I'm more, if it wasn't Washington, I'd be excited for wherever he went. But now I'm just thinking, I really hope it's the negative Fitzpatrick that shows up.
So
go ahead.
this is like the deepest of deep sleeper contenders for me.
Yep.
This is probably not super deep, but like in terms of my evaluation of this is my deepest of deep Super Bowl sleepers. That pains me to even say, because that offensive line, after losing Trent Williams, losing Morgan Moses, and they signed Charles Leno, but if you didn't know, he was the left tackle for the Bears, so take that for what it's worth.
Yep.
Still, it's hard to fathom that with this offensive line under its current construction. Brandon Scherf is still a Pro Bowl, borderline All-Pro player, but he can't play all 5. At least
they could win this division. They could win this division at 7-10. Fitzpatrick gets hot in the playoffs. They could win the Super Bowl.
Sincerely, like that is that is the truth.
Now you're
like,
dreaming,
gets
brother.
hot. Oh, Phil.
Number 17, the exact polar opposite of the Washington football team, is the Dallas Cowboys, whose offense is not the question, with Dak being healthy, we hope. Their offensive line will be healthy for the first 4 games of the season, but they're all ancient and old. Their defense is still trash. Fair?
That's very fair. They've got a stud in Lawrence, and the linebackers look great on paper. The secondary doesn't look good on anything.
Nope. Jalen Smith's going to look really good in number 9 after he pays $500,000 to buy all of the NFL.com stock of jerseys and T-shirts.
That is remarkable.
That is incredible. I love that. Dalvin Cook was going to change his number for the Minnesota Vikings, and then realized it was going to cost him like $3.1 million to buy off that inventory. So we decided to just stick with the number he's at.
You think he's going to then turn around and sell those items? I would be in the market.
Hope so. Yeah, I would buy one. Health is obviously key for the Dallas Cowboys. You're right. That secondary is hot garbage. When Surtain and Horn went off the board before the Cowboys draft pick, they panicked and traded it to the Eagles. This could be really high. This could be really low. They could score 45 points a game and win 12 games. They could score 38 points a game and lose 13 games. So we don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you could have a Dak Prescott with a Tom Brady chaser with all the obscene amount of talent every possible conceivable position with the Cowboys, and it wouldn't change. Maybe mainly the Eagles fans' opinions, but the fact that the Dallas Cowboys always come strong from the off season. They always come in with this unbelievable, unholy amount of arsenal to destroy anyone within Jerry Jones's path. But
I love where this is going.
What happens is something fucking goes wrong, and eventually there'll be a season where it doesn't. And yes, eventually, sometime when hell freezes over, the Dallas Cowboys may win another Super Bowl. But until then, I think people will comfortably rely on the Dallas Cowboys doing what Dallas Cowboys do best. And I think middle of the road is probably the perfect position for them, because if you're putting them at the 50% mark, they can easily go one way or another. They could be the 32nd team. They could be the first team. And
they can't go 8-8.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for clearing that up again.
Without Dak Prescott, this could be the worst team in football.
Yeah.
And again, and harking back to the injury sort of situation, you don't know what Dak's coming back. He might not be the Dak. He might be conscious of running out of the pocket. Who knows? But it's certainly going to be interesting to see whether they can get rid of the hoodoo. But I just think Jerry Jones will inevitably Jerry Jones himself into the ground, hopefully.
Yeah, and that wraps up the NFC East.
Yeah, I had them the same way in my power rankings. They were all kind of clumped up together. None of them are exceptionally good, and none of them are exceptionally bad. I just don't understand. Now we're back to the pronunciation game, which is what words Evan can't say. These are mostly the same names that you had last time. We're giving you round 2, Phil. See if you can do it again.
So that's number 1 is obviously, again, Clemson's future star. You could say current star. His dad protected many a celebrity. Big man. What is his name? This is Clemson's quarterback currently and future number 1 overall draft pick. Phil.
I can finally banish this one from my nightmares. DJ Uyunglele.
Nailed it.
3 claps. The next one is an edge rusher, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, went to BYU, and now he's in the Bayou, coming off the edge with Cam Jordan and co. What's his name?
I'm just going to have to go with my gut on this. I think it's Tano Kapassignon.
Nailed it. 2 for 2.
Oh, wow. He has been paying attention. So this is the Denver Broncos backup tight end. He went to Missouri. What's his name, Phil?
I don't know.
I love that he's Missouri, Denver backup tight end. We're throwing him in there.
Albert Aquay-Benham.
Pretty close. We'll give you points for that.
Woo! Three mostly for 3. Okay, and now we've got the New York Giants edge rusher from what's his name?
O'Shane Jimenez.
Very close.
That is
half a point.
Yeah, that's a half an eggplant for you. So the next one is
I love half an egg. The question is
the fat end.
The fat end. The
Intriguing.
next is the first round draft pick for the Miami Dolphins a year ago, cornerback from Auburn. What's his name, Phil?
Noah Igbenogany.
Nailed it.
Oh, well done, Phil.
We'll have to find new names for next time.
Yeah. Absolutely, Phil. You do not get these again. The next one is a wide receiver and fantasy darling of 1 week for the New England Patriots. Evan, a Patriots fan, could not say this and turned it into something brand new that we call him exclusively now. Phil, what is his actual name?
You ruined it for me. I was going to say that his name was Gunnar O'Shit. But it's obviously not. It's Gunnar Olszewski.
Yep. Gunnar Olszewski.
All right. So this is Navy's head coach. Navy's football team is coached by who, Phil? Great dude, great coach.
Would they be coached by Ken Numatalolo?
Very close. It is Nui Matalolo.
So it is neither. I spelled this wrong. It's Niamatalolo. So
Yes,
you're getting
you
the
did.
points for that one, Phil, because it was correct as written. All right, next is a man whose name is screamed by every stadium that he's played in as the home team. Former Pittsburgh Steeler. He is a fullback, a dying breed, like the Latin language. What is his name, Phil? Dead breed, by the way.
John Kuhn.
Eh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hard you. John Kuhn.
I just didn't want to say it on national TV.
Yeah, fair.
This is not national nor on TV, Phil. You're good. All right, Ryan, you get this one.
Phil, do you have your web browser up?
I don't, but I can't wait to hear you try and tell me how long his name is again.
Yep, it's multiple syllables. I'm not going to look it up again, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it again because I did that last time you were on, and it's exhausting to try and do that. Kaimi Fairbairn's actual given name on his birth certificate, they're still trying to write it because it is about 40 syllables long. Kaimi Fairbairn, kicker for the Houston Texans.
And you get points for that
this year.
Congratulations, Phil, on winning tonight's McCorkle Award. A big round of applause for you. Ryan, clap. God damn it.
Thank you.
Frame it, put it on your mantle. We're going to send it to you, and we expect to see it hanging on the wall the next time that you're
absolutely,
on.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, you can send it to him because I don't know how that would work.
We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out. Last week's winner, shout out to Luke Sawhook. Well done, Luke, but more importantly, well done, Phil. And a big thanks to Phil. Again, Ryan, I don't know why I have to tell you this, but clap, for God's sake. Well done. Thanks for joining us, Phil. As always, man. Ryan.
Thanks for listening to the Shall We Football Podcast. You can find and subscribe to the Shall We Football Podcast on any major podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Google. Every episode of the Shall We Football Podcast also available in video format on YouTube alongside other content. So like, subscribe, press the notification bell to be alerted every time we upload. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast. Phil, quick plug for your situation going on overseas while I catch my breath.
So as it's said at the start, Next Man Up podcast, the only UK Eagles podcast in existence as far as we're aware. Disclaimer. We are trying to promote the Eagles game this side of the pond, and we are doing our best to make it sound like we know what we're talking about whilst making it entertaining for our listeners. So please give us a listen on all the similar podcast networks that you just heard from Ryan, and please check us out and give us a follow.
Thank you, Phil.
We did, and we're better for it. Thank you, Phil.
All right, boys. Thanks for joining us. Thank you all for listening. Let me go make sure nothing's broken.